Welcome to the Self Reality Podcast, a show where we like to discuss reality TV and all our feelings about them. I'm your host, Angie, and today I'm talking Survivor, Season 48, Episode 9. As you can tell, just me doing a solo episode. Normally my brother Nick is here, but he is away on vacay. So let us just jump right in. But before we do, if you would please go on ahead, like this video, maybe click subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, as always, let me know all your thoughts and feelings as well. I would love to hear them. With that said, let's get to it. So before we get into 9, let's talk the last piece of episode 8 where Chrissy got voted out. Super unsurprising. The lady tanked herself. She just went off on too much of a tangent. No diplomacy. Sayonara. Little bit of a ho-hum tribal, but what can you do? In the aftermath, we're back at camp, and now David's scrambling a little bit to say to Camilla, hey, Camilla, I'm sorry, I floated your name, blah, blah, blah. And she basically tells him he's a bad liar. And then in her interview calls him an idiot, which I think if you've been watching, my feelings are similar to Camilla's. I like Camilla. David, I think, bit of an idiot and a bit of a bully too, frankly. He's being too dumb. He's being too arrogant. He's trying to railroad everyone. I do not like it. I am not enjoying it. It affects me. I don't like to say triggering because it's a psychological term, but I don't like his behavior when he's being very aggressive and pushing people around. So head over to camp as we do after the little aftermath in the morning. And, it's 6 strong. So it's the 4 big dudes. So it's David, Joe, Kyle, Shaheen, and then you have Eva, and they've added in Mary. Again, I'm going to go back to arrogance. I just find that there's a lot of arrogance of everyone just sitting there openly. I think there's only 9 people left, and the other 3 are just kind of off on the sideline. So I don't feel like it's strong gameplay this season yet. It's a lot of we're being open and honest. Well, you're being open and honest. The open and honest is the 6, and they're kind of not being that open and honest even with each other at this point. They're starting to turn a little bit, but then to openly sit there on the beach while the others are there, I don't like the exclusion of it. That feels bad to me. At least pretend. Like Camilla raised it again, I think. Definitely last episode, jury management people, like, if you're going to vote us out, fine, play the game and be nice. So that's that part. Let me see here. Eva's very wanting to stay within like the confines of the game. She wants to stay within the 6. Because it is very logical from the perspective of you have 6, there's 3, vote them off. What I'm missing here is, again, as I already just mentioned, gameplay, but I'm also sort of missing the nuance. I'm missing the strategy. Like, you still need to win. I think there's a lack of jury management going on here and a lack of sort of attempting to actually have a strong game. And many, many, many other seasons, it's been a lot about making moves, being strategic. It's outwit, outplay, outlast. You still have to outplaying. Fine, they're outplaying, no problemo. But how are you outwitting anyone by just staying with the same people, not maneuvering? I don't know. I don't know. I'm never a big fan of just sort of ho-hum, and not just because I want drama and people getting mad, but I want strategy. I want people to be thinking, what are you doing? What is the human interaction? Which is why I've really liked Camilla so far, because she played a strong game. I think it's just unfortunate she kind of she's still there, but she's on the outs. So we are starting to see a lot of paranoia. This is where I think Eva's getting bothered, because the paranoia is primarily being charged by David, and Mary's like just feeding David, and David's running around. I mean, Mary's kind of smart about it in that she feeds it to David, and then David runs around trying to, in my personal opinion, bully people, or just to like bulldoze his way through everyone. And you have like Kyle and Shaheen now. So, like, Kyle's starting to plant those seeds about David, and it's not that hard to do because David's been acting a little wonky for a little while now. David and Kyle have a talk as well. I found that David's just, I wrote down here, being a suck, because like Kyle's basically just trying to smooth things out, as you do. And normally someone would just be like, yeah, I know it's a game, whatever. But instead, David's like, well, it could have been easy. Yes, everything could be easy, David, if we all did exactly what you dictated that we do. But that's not Survivor, my friend. So, like, and I felt bad for Kyle because it actually did seem to kind of trigger him. And he does talk a little bit later to Joe about it, which I quite liked. And like paranoia, what I also want to mention is like when you're paranoid or when you're worried or when you're looking for something, you're really oftentimes going to find it because there's always a reason on Survivor to be a little bit paranoid, but you're also creating suspicion in you, and it's just this constant feedback loop over and over again. So it's not doing him any favors. So then we come to the evening, and if you recall last episode, Eva had found the little scroll when she was on the reward, so now she has to go searching for an advantage in the middle of the night. Well, she gets up in the middle of the night, and guess who sees her leave? Shaheen, who I found it funny. He goes and stands right over Joe and tells Joe, who's totally not worried. I will admit I was worried for Eva because she hasn't told anyone about this yet, not even Joe. But flip to the next day, Eva tells Joe and her alliance members, the strong six, whatever. And so Joe's like, I knew it, right? What Eva wins, it was an interesting evening one because they actually have like torches out. So she must have had to go far in. There were a bunch of torches, and then she basically she could either win, I can't remember, an extra vote, or she could risk the extra vote for a 50-50 chance. Yeah, it was a 50-50 chance of getting like a safety without power. She gets the safety without power. So basically, if you're feeling like you're going to get voted out, you can just walk out of tribe. Now, you don't get a vote either, but still you're safe. Close to being like immunity, but not quite. And then she has the opportunity to get immunity. She turns it down because it's only a 33% chance, like 1 in 3 chance. So that was smart. And then, yeah, she tells Joe, Shaheen, and Kyle. Now this helps Eva's case because now Shaheen trusts Eva more, right? Because she's really trusting him by letting him know about the advantage, especially when he was getting that little drip drab of paranoia the night before. So then Kyle goes and tells Camilla because she is actually his number one about it. Then you have David over talking to Joe, raising concerns again about Shaheen and Kyle. Joe very much trusts Shaheen and he trusts Kyle. But I think where David really screws himself here is when he's trying to kind of, I don't know, bring Joe on board with him on like the whole don't trust Shaheen and Kyle train. He actually tells Joe that Joe went back on his word, and you could just see the script flip for Joe. Joe very much prides himself on, I'm an honest guy, I'm a stand-up guy, and I would agree, like that's who Joe is. That's who he is as a person. Do I think it's a little questionable how stand-up you can be in this game when you can be honest with everyone? You just can't. You're not going to tell everyone you're voting for them. Like, you're going to have to turn on everyone. So I think it's questionable, but within the confines of how he's defined it, which is to his strong six, I guess, yes, he is being honest. But now he's pissed because what happened last week, they were going to vote for Camilla, and then the whole team switched, and David's trying to say, well, you went back on your word. Now, I was like, uh-oh, David, you're in big trouble, buddy boy, because Joe, I don't care if he's lying to your face, you don't tell me. He went back on his word if you're in an alliance with him. That's crazy talk. So that was super interesting because you could feel the vibe. Like, I felt the vibe off of Joe. It's like whatever thing you most relate yourself to, if someone tells you you're not that, like it's impactful for sure. There's a little clip of actually Star looking out and seeing people swimming and wishing she could swim. So she does go out and try and learn to swim. And I thought that was pretty cool because just from a personal perspective, I learned to snorkel at Christmas time. I went to Bonaire, and that was a pretty meaningful for me. So it was like, oh yay, like someone learn to swim. However, on a side note, I would think before you go to Survivor, because there are challenges where you're going to have to swim, you would have learned already. But I mean, good on her for going out there and doing that. So that's awesome. Then I think the other thing at camp to mention is that Kyle has a heart-to-heart with Joe. So the other thing I'd say about Joe, and I know it's like Joe heavy on this discussion today, is I think, he's older, like he's older than the rest of them. So he kind of fancies himself, or I think he just naturally, frankly, becomes a bit of a father figure. So Kyle goes and talks to Joe about how in his childhood, he was a wild child. had gone into prison and he still made something of his life. And he kind of relates it back to how he kind of reacted to David coming at him. I'm not sure if it's because I'm not sure how it relates to that, unless it's he got in fights and people coming aggressively at him. Maybe that's triggering to him. I'm not sure. But Joe felt really heartened by the fact that Kyle was opening up to him. And to me, that's good gameplay, though. I mean, I'm sure it's honest. It's bringing in the honest in those parts of yourselves and opening them up to other people. And then, I mean, smart gameplay is kind of twisting it around and turning it on David. So I thought that was heartwarming at the same time as being a little bit strategic, or a lot of it strategic. I also thought it was interesting in an interview, because Eva, as we know, is autistic, talks about, admits why, like she's feeling confident with the strong six. Like she doesn't want to deviate from the strong six. She's very confident in them, but then she actually goes in and says, but it could just be because I'm not seeing the lies. Like I'm not good at recognizing when people are lying. And she doesn't think I think she doesn't feel they're lying to her, but it's like, but maybe I need to back up my team, the people I trust more on my team who they may be lying to. So pretty interesting insight. Like I love the insightfulness. So that was good. Let's talk about the challenge. Challenge is super basic. They stand on a little, little podium, a little whatever, a little block. They have to like hold bars up. Like, so they have to be holding it up, and there's like a clamp on a ball and you just have to hold it and it looks pretty easy to drop, and it would really be hard to have your hands pulling up all the time. Like that would be super duper easy to sort of let that fall. So they can't step off the thing and they can't drop the ball. And also there's a reward with this. Whoever wins gets a ham and cheese, I don't know, wraps and some other things at camp. In the end, Joe wins. It's a battle once again between him and David, and Joe ends up winning. Which was pretty great, because I was hoping maybe David goes home, so I didn't want David to win particularly. But, to Chrissy's point at Tribal, I get that, she was being a loose cannon, but these guys are strong and they're like just physically stronger than a lot of them and can win a lot of these challenges, especially even endurance challenges where it's just like muscle, right? Muscle and focus or whatever. So I get other people can, and it's a bit equalizing, but these guys, and maybe it's just they're just strong physically and mentally. So at the end of the challenge, what bothered me again, and I know I'm really laying it on David this time, but dude is just the worst sore loser. Like he is just, I think Jeff or someone even says, like, he looks in absolute and complete despair. It's like, dude, it's a game, get over yourself. Someone else won. But I think the cherry on top is Joe was allowed, of course, to bring some folks. He chooses Mitch, Shaheen, and Eva. Doesn't pick David, even though, and in David's mind, which I think is a little bit of a pea-brain mind, he had said to Joe, and I think it was so Joe would drop, like, I'll take you on the reward. And like Joe's like, no way, man. And Joe never said he was going to take him on the reward. And if you think about it, David's telling him he's going back on his word anyway. Like, dude isn't going to, like, Joe ain't going to take him. So I thought that was cool. You can feel the despair from David and the sore loserness. Like, God, just get over it. Get over it. You've won. You've had lots of food. Like, poor Mitch. I'm glad he took Mitch. He's the only one who's gotten no food. Like, can you imagine being the only person on a tribe of 9 within whatever it's been, 12 days or whatever, not having a lick of food except for like Coke, whatever the heck they're making, like coconut and stuff? That would be really upsetting. And you would just be like demoralized, and you can see it. Yet David's just out having a big baby suck. Like, oh my God, dude, like, chill out. I liked you for a couple episodes. Like, you were being like, put on the charm again, my friend. So we go to reward. Mitch has got to do, like, Mitch and Camilla and Star are in trouble, right? Like they're not part of the strong six. So Mitch says he wants David gone. Shaheen agrees, and I'm like yes, like, cause it's time, man. It's time. You gotta start chopping the heads off. And I like that Shaheen, cause I didn't think he was super strong, but Shaheen does go into how he's been planting seeds for days. And I'm always a big believer myself in planting seeds if you want to get something done. And then instead of it being just your idea, it ends up being someone else's idea. And so long as you're getting what you want to get, or you think it's the best outcome, let's say, doesn't matter whose idea it does it. So Shaheen's been planting seeds, and I like how the editing like flashes to this one, flashes to that one. So it's super good. David is freaking out to Eva about everything. And I think starts to make her question it. She's like, I think she's getting impacted by the paranoia now and going like, oh my God, like you got to chill out. Mary's running around doing the same kind of thing. So I think Mary and David, and I'm surprised at Mary because I think Mary's solid at strategy. Mary's super solid at sort of like keeping it low key, playing a part, so to speak, when she has to. And I just think she's playing like sort of David's game, and I don't think it's doing her any favors, if I'm being honest. And I think she's a strong player. I think she's picking the wrong person again to align with. I don't think David was the right choice. So then you have Kyle. He's telling Eva, he tells Eva, like, he's straight up, he says, I'm considering putting David's name down. Shaheen agrees again, and I wrote in caps, play the game, Eva and Joe. Like, play the game. It is time. The time is now. David is a strong threat. He's always like neck and neck as well with Joe, like from that perspective. But I think you have to go with Joe. You got to go more emotional. It's got to be, well, he called you a liar, like about his feelings and about he kind of hitting, from that pride perspective more. And I think that's what they did. I think Eva admits, if I remember, like she sees everything in black and white, but like, and even though she thinks David's good with her, because he is, I think everyone's good with Eva because Eva is very like straightforward with what she's doing. She's very clear, but she's noticing they're not being good with her people and the people she's closest with and the people she trusts the most. So Tribal's, interesting-ish. It's still a lot of political talk. No one's really coming out and saying anything. If I had to guess, it's probably because they were about to blindside, spoiler alert, David. But, I found myself still, again, getting frustrated with sort of the rhetoric on an honest game. I've made my feelings clear about that one. One of the things I would point out in terms of like how I felt and how it made me feel, Camilla, again, kind of mentions like feeling that sort of exclusionary feeling and saying like maybe if it was a different type of participants or different cast, if there was a different cast who maybe there were a few more weird people or like a little bit more when they merged, she might have done better, but she's had to learn how to be more adaptable. Maybe I just relate to her because of like her feeling very sort of excluded in the game, and I get that and that lonely feeling that comes with it. But also what I do appreciate about her as well is the resilience. She's not given up. They're somehow still keeping her and Kyle a secret. I don't know how they've done it with him being with the Strong Six. So that is super interesting to me. And just one last comment I want to make about this honest game thing, because I've realized I don't think they've mentioned it, and maybe they have, and I just blanked it out because I think it's boring. But what do you do when there's just 6 of you left? Like, why is no one really thinking about that? I think Kyle is, because Kyle's already got a number 1 who no one knows about. I think Shaheen's starting to jump on the bandwagon, and I guess Joe and Eva are each other's number 1s. But wouldn't you start looking at that now and saying, Joe and Eva, like, they're not going to put each other up? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just not. So maybe we need a plan B, C, and D. So that is kind of weird to me, but I guess we'll see. Maybe it's this whole, I want to play with the best people at the end, whatever. I want to play with who I'm going to win against if it's $1 million. Okay, let's be real, people. So they vote, and I have to say I didn't know. I was unsure. Like, it seemed like it might be David, but they were just, again, it makes for kind of boring tribals because nobody's getting into it and talking and what's happening and what's really going on. So it's a little bit perplexing. However, in the end, David gets voted out, and I did cheer, not gonna lie. Yes, I cheered someone who is appearing to be a bit bully, like going home and not playing a strategic or smart game. He went home, and the votes were, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 to 3. So 6 votes on David. The only ones who voted for Mitch are, of course, David and Mary, and then surprisingly Star. So I'll be curious to see if Star is able to make her way or kind of fit her way into any of the groups, because she has not been successful so far. So I think next week it would be smart, in my opinion, if say we have Mitch, Camilla. We don't know about Kyle, so we'll just say Mitch, Camilla, Mary's kind of on her own now, right? So you could do Mitch, Camilla, Mary, Star would be smart to kind of join that, and then that's 4-4. And this is when Kyle could move. This is what I see it playing out in my head. But we're gonna see what happens, who gets the immunity, all that kind of stuff. So, David, true to form, leaves like a sore loser. Like despondent. He looks like he wants to murder somebody. Like he looks furious. Maybe he's upset. I don't know. Give him the benefit of the doubt. It's hard to do after watching how he behaved for so long. But he's just sore loser to the end. Not a big fan of that. I like it when someone good game, like that's why we're taught that when we play baseball or whatever sporting things when we're kids, like good game. But not for David. So he did make the jury. David goes home, and it does look like, and I just said it, next week it's the Mary, Camilla, Star, and Mitch thing, which makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see. We have 4 against 4. What's Kyle going to decide to do? Is he going to ditch them? Like, how's it going to roll? I don't know. So pretty good episode. I would rank it out of 10, like a 7.4. I'm going to give it a 7.4. I enjoyed it. Even though Tribal's never that interesting lately, it was interesting right at the end. I do like a good blindside. So yeah, that's the episode. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your comments. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And be sure to join me in the next discussion of whatever show that we have. Bye.